Welcome back everyone. This is our third video in the series. In this one we will be going over string manipulation, handling, how do strings work in Python, and also doing a simple example program. So first I've listed out all the different things we can use, like built-in methods or data types. I will just run this program. Unfortunately it doesn't work. So line 42, we forgot to double colon. Once we fix that, it should be fine. Nice, we didn't save our file, huh? Okay, now let's get back to the start. So what are strings? Strings are just basically chains of characters stored. So yeah, it's just text. As you can see, if I type str, here is its value, which is hello. Now you can do something called multi-line strings. I haven't really been using this before, but what happens here is you can just use like enter and tabs in the variable assignment itself. And if you take a look at this, as you can see, it stores the new lines as characters. So if you press enter here, you actually input a new line escape sequence character or new line character after the I here. So if you print this, you should see similar layout where the new lines get substituted by actual new lines because you are printing it, not just getting the value of it. So string addition is our next thing. Addition, not addiction, where you can use the plus operator to concatenate strings. That's how they call when you add one string to another, you append it or concatenate it. So let's see what this does. As you can see, it just adds hello and the space and word to create the string hello world. Now the format method is like the following. You can put placeholders and curly brackets in it, and after you call the dot format method, and here you input the values that should be replaced in these brackets in the listed order. So if you check this, as you can see, hello this is, and then the gets put here and format here, so it will be hello this is the format method. Simple, right? Now something called f-strings is our next one. F-strings are similar to the format strings. The only difference is you just put the variables or values right here in the brackets. So you don't have to use the dot format method. You can just write it straight in here, and you have to put an F before the first double quote when you start the string. Don't get confused by it because I was using a variable here and just flat values put in here. Everywhere where you can use a variable, you can also use just basic inputted data, like raw data inputted or hard coded, they say this. So if we check the format example, which we did, so we should check the f string example, we will see that the Empire State Building is in and city is a variable, which is New York, so New York will get substituted in here, and we get this. Now the reason why you would use these f strings and format methods, it's not really clear from these examples, but it would be clear if you, let's say you created a function where you had a let me just show this. So you create a function called print capital. City is our parameter, and we will just return an f string of the capital of, okay, so let's do city and country as parameter, and we will just return the capital of curly braces country is curly braces city. So we have to run our program again in interactive mode. Now if we say print capital, let's say Budapest, and Hungary, we will get the string. The capital of Hungary is Budapest. So you could basically create from just the values, if you had like a table of values, this sentence if you need it. Now our next thing is numbers as strings, so you can store numbers as strings. That's what happens if you ask the user to input a number, because they can only input strings, because the keys they press on the keyboard are stored as strings or as characters that make up strings. So as you can see, pi as string is just the number between pi in simple quotes. So with strings you can use either single or double quotes, both work and it doesn't make any difference. Just make sure to use the same one on both sides. Now if you do this, like plus 3 or 2, it won't work because you can only either concatenate strings to strings or add numbers and numbers. So say if I do it like this way, our arrow will be different because the plus first tries the first operand and it changes its actual function based on what the first operand is. If it's a number, it tries to add two numbers. If it's a string, it tries to concatenate or append two strings. So if you want to use a number that is stored as a string and add it to another number or do anything else with it, you have to do what's called casting. So if you cast the string as number to integer and add the number, then that won't work because integer means whole number. So if you do float, it will be fine. Or you can also cast a number to string, like if you do string 2, you will get, or I'm not sure how to do this. Let me look it up quickly. So str, so if you do str 2, 3, not sure why this is not working. I think it is because I have str defined here. So if I just don't do str, because here this is not good. Str was a built-in identifier and I redefined it. So just comment this out because we are already past that part. And let's try again. Okay, still doesn't work. I'm not sure why this doesn't work, guys, but let's just move on. We can, whatever, troubleshoot this later. Casting isn't part of this lesson anyway. So where were we? We were doing numbers as strings. So the next one is string indexing. As you can see, you have the string alphabet. If I run my program, now you can reference any of these values by their index because they are numbered from left to right and right to left as well. So the first one is alphabet and index 0, so you have to put the index between these square brackets. And if you do alphabet 1, that will be B, right? So it starts with a 0. most of the time in programming you start counting from a 0. And if you do alphabets -1, you will get a Z. -2 would get you Y, -3X, etc. So that's string indexing, should be straightforward. Now string length is just a built-in function where you can get the length of a string using len function. If you do len alphabets, you get 26. String slicing is where you can break parts of a string out for separate use. Let me just close my WhatsApp. I don't know why it's like coming up in notifications when it's not even open. That's a bit strange. Let me just message saying please don't write anymore when I'm recording the lesson. Okay, should be fine. So where were we? Slicing, right? So we have our string alphabet. Let's just go back here so you see it, but you should know this anyway. So if you do alphabet 4 double colon 8, or is this just called colon or double colon? I don't know. So alphabet 4 to 8 will be E, F, G, H, because if I did the indexes here at the bottom, so you see, so 4, so 0 is A, 1, 2, 3, 4, so E, and we go to 8, so 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one doesn't get included. So when you do 4, 8, you include the fourth one, but you don't include the eighth one, only up to 7. Now you can leave out the second index here between the colons, the right side one. That way you will go to the end of the string. If you try this, you start from the sixth one, G, to the end, and go to the end. If you leave out the first one, you just start from the first one. So you go A, B, C, right? Because you start from 0. You do 0, 1, and 2. Now, there's something called an extended slice. This means that you can also specify a step length. Here I defined a separate function to demonstrate this. So step just means begin and end is the same as before. You do 2 colons to separate these 3 values. So begin goes to the left, end in the middle, and step to the right. You can omit any one of these, but you still have to include the colons. So if you do alphabets and just omit both begin and end and just do the step as one, you will get back alphabet because step 1 is the default value. If you do step 2, you will skip every second, as you can see, you skip B, every second letter you skip D, etc. I defined a string skipper function to do this, so if you just do string skipper, it doesn't even take much less time to type, but whatever, let's use it if I did it anyway. So you do alphabet and 3, it should skip, so I need to return this one. It skips every second and third letter, so A, D, skip E and F, contain G, simple enough. Now, if in the step you put negative values, you get the string backwards, as you can see. If you do -2, that should work as well. So you just, same thing, skip from the back. Now we have some string methods to use. For example, the upper and lower method, which will just turn all the letters in a string to uppercase or lowercase. You use this to make sure when the user inputs values that you can check those values and you don't have to type if it's this, which is full capital, or if it's this just full lowercase, or just the first letter capitalized, or randomly another letter capitalized accidentally. You can just turn it to full lower or uppercase, and that way it simplifies your parsing of the data. Parsing means understanding, reading data and getting the logic or value or information out of it. If you think about it, this source code, the Python interpreter just reads it, and from the text it has to parse the actual commands and statements that you want it to do. So yeah, as you can see, we have the team Manchester United, and if we do team lower, the M will turn to lowercase, or team upper should turn all the letters capitalized. Now the next one is replace. So as you can see here, we have this weird string called welcome to Wall Street with $signs. And if you do title no dollar, you will replace the $signs with a space. So I typed in the variable I did, but this is its value basically. Now here you can do anything here. You can put a number, you can put a hashtag, hash mark. Let's see what happens if you put multiple values. As you can see, you can even put multiple length character strings in here, and it will put it in the place of every $sign. So this is a bit silly, but this works as well. So that is the replace. Now the strip method is something else. It removes leading and trailing characters. So as you can see, our strip test string is this, and if we strip the hash marks from this, we will just get the string without them. Now the last thing I talk about is escape sequences. So obviously in a string, unless you are using the multi-line string, you cannot click enter, because one sort of usually, like in source code, you cannot like click enter, like you, if you do this, like you want to do 1 + 1 equals, or you want to do result equals 1 + 1 and run this, you will see that results is not defined for some reason. So I didn't save again. See guys, always save your file. Okay, result is 2, but you can't like just randomly put an enter here. You could with other programming languages, but with Python, indentation does matter. It's not just a stylistic thing. So if you save this and try again, it won't work. See, result will be just 1, and then +1 will be just a separate statement, which is basically just a statement that evaluates the 1, but since you don't store this value anywhere, you just discard it. So, to do new lines, in strings, you need an escape sequence. So this is what we had earlier, right? So if you want to do that in a string, you will just do this, which is the new line escape sequence. And if you print it, you will get it in the new line, see? Also, there are other escape sequences for white space like tab. I don't know what per s is. So per s is, it's not here. Why am I at images, guys? Someone tell me. So per s isn't an escape in Python. So it doesn't, it's not an escape sequence in Python, but it is in regular expression syntax. Regular expressions are something we won't cover today, but they are really useful in parsing strings as well, or pattern matching in strings. They are a bit more advanced though. So let's get back to our problem statement. And obviously you need to escape the escape sequence starting dash character, and you need to escape the quotes, otherwise it will think that your string is closing. So those are all the examples. Now let's get to our problem. The example problem is just simply to define a function that turns a string into leet speak, which, if you look up on Wikipedia, it's this like early hacker culture thing where you type numbers instead of letters, and you use all capital letters. So like the term 1334 actually means leet in leet speak. Now let's extend this problem statement, because we don't just want to do a function that will like turn one entered string into leet speak and then exit, because that would be like really annoying to always restart the function if you want to like type in multiple strings. So let's just sort of leave this problem statement like this, but design our program to use a loop to keep going until the user enters like a Q button or something. So let's do a new file called leetspeak.py. And what should we do here? So as you see, I even listed what you need to change. So you need to change L characters to 1, E to, this means just the mathematical notation for same as above here. So you don't copy lower uppercase again and again and again. I just did this. So E to 3, T to 7, and O to 0. And capitalize the rest. Capital, I don't know how to type this. Capital, so capitalize like this. To capitalize the rest of the letters. So obviously what we need to do is define the leet speak function. Now we will need a loop, because we want to keep going until the user enters something that will stop the function. I don't want to inform the user, because let's just do it, and we already know how the function will work because we are writing it. So let's just do string or input equals, and that's not good because input is the built-in function. Input string equals input like this. So we get the input from the user. Then we just need an if statement saying if input equals, let's say, q break. So that means our function will return, or let's just do return. You can do break or return in this case because our function won't have any other structures, just its one while loop. So elif, or actually else, because we won't have anything else, just either quit or print delete speak. So as what we need to do, well, we need to do go character by character, and if the characters are one of these, we will have to replace them. So let's just first of all turn everything into caps, because that's one of the parts we need to do. So why not just do it now? So input string equals input string dot upper. This way we turn them all into uppercase and store them back into the same variable. Now that we have everything uppercase, remember guys that you can index the strings, right? So, or they are already indexed. So simply what we need to do is use a for cycle here and go from, so for I in range, and start with 0 because we are going from the first letter, and go up to the length of input string. Now you need to add 1 here because, as I said, it won't include the last character otherwise. You will need another if else here because we need to check for all these conditions. So if input string I is equal to L. Now this is why we turned it to uppercase earlier. We would otherwise have to check for lowercase l and uppercase here. But we already transformed everything to uppercase, so this is enough here. So we simply replace the value with a 1, so we assign it a new value. Now we do the same thing. Let's just copy this. We do the same thing how many times? 3 more times. Make sure to do elif here at every point. It's usually not advised to copy paste code like this, guys, but I know what I'm doing, trust me. So, okay, so we did L to 1. Now just this is what we need to change. We need to change this to E and change this to a number 3. Now change this to a number T and change this to a number 7. Change this to a number, or letter rather, O, big O, and this to a number 0. And we should be fine here. So let's just test our program. If we exit out of this interactive mode of the last one, let's call delete speak program. Now, that's stupid because first I need to run the program, and then once I'm in the interactive mode, then I can call it. So let's just type, hello, welcome to iPhone. Let's just do hello, welcome to the jungle. And we get a bug. So what happened here is type object is not subscriptable in line 8. So what is type object here? Well, we are subscripting the range 0 input length. So let's just copy this out. But since it's defined in the function, it doesn't work. So let's just assign it a value, last, and then do our previous statement. And we reproduce the same problem. So guys, the problem might be that I use, in the range, I use these brackets instead of the other side. So let's just try the regular ones. I don't know what happened here. Let's close this. Let's try like this. So first test here if we are here anyway. Okay, so that works. So the problem was the type of braces I used, guys. Okay, so now our second bug is because we assign numbers to characters in a string instead of actual characters. So numbers stored as characters, what we have covered in the intro in this video. So once we fix that, I really should copy this input to not have to type it all the time. I need to run our... Okay, let's copy this first. I need to run my LeetSpeak program, and then... So you can't copy by Control-C, guys, in the terminal, but you can do Control-Shift... or I mean, you can copy by Control-V, but you can by Control-Shift-V. So our next error is string objects does not support item assignment. So you cannot just like replace values one by one in a string. So what we need to do, what I would do in this case is I would deconstruct my string into a list of characters. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but let's look it up. How to turn string into list Python. In the built-in method, right, the string split. So let's just do that. And now we use the same index as before because lists are like this. So let me demonstrate this. So if you have the string, if you have a string hello and you do hello dot split, you will get a list like hello. So this is not what we want. This split the string into words, but we want to split into characters. So you need the unpack method. So let's try that one. So the unpack method is star apparently, and put it in braces. So it's a different syntax. Now have to do it in there. Put a star here, it seems. Right. So let's do this in our actual program. Now put the crack, then star, bracket in the end, and assign this value to input string. Now A substitution should be fine, but the problem will be, let's just run it like this, is we didn't reconstruct our string. So if we were to run leetspeak on this, what went wrong here? Let's see. If input string I equals L, list index out of range. So with so what are we doing here? We are going from 0 to the length of the input string, but that might be different now that we have a list. So let's just do length, an example list. That's fine, so that should be the same. So if we do, so that's not the problem. But it says we are out of range. List index is out of range. So how did we get out of range? So test our function. Let's just test our function. So input string. Let's do an example input. Now do the steps as there are in the program. Let's see what we have now. This is what we should have. So now if we do why might this list index be out of range? Let's remove this +1 and see if we fix this error. Okay, so it should be working fine. Our problem was that we don't quit from the string, right? Or we don't print our result. Also, the queue didn't work, so we will need to make that work as well. But first of all, let's just here, after we've replaced everything, let's just print input string. So let's rerun our program. Okay, so now it did do the leetspeak. We need to collapse this list back into a string. So let's just look up how to do that. You could do it yourself as well, just it would take like a longer time. So if you can do it by bit and things, it's a good idea. So you need to use paste, it says. So this is R programming, so we need Python programming. So we need to do the join function, it seems. So let's just do join like this and see if it works. You can do Control C to escape from your program, by the way. So let's see once again. Well, this didn't work, so we have to do a bit more reading here. Let's go to the start of this article. So assessing an item from the list, we know that. What is a string? We know how to convert a list to string using the join function. So I see. So you specify the separator and then dot join and list. So we have to do it like this. We don't need any separator, so we will leave this blank. Then dot join and have our input string as a parameter. So this should work, guys. Let's see if it does. Please work. Finally, lead speed is working. Good job. Okay, now the final thing in our program is we need to make sure we can quit by pressing the Q button. So I don't think that works currently. Let's try again. So right, if we enter anything like whatever, it converts to lead speak, but if we press Q, it should quit, but it does lead speak because we somehow need to do a check here when we do the input. I don't know why this is not working because it should be, right? Because we are going through, so return should just basically quit the function. Return the function, so it ends the function and returns to the previous, gives control back to the other functions that call this function, or if there's nothing else, then just program stops running. So I'm not sure why this is not working. Let's do break. Let's try break first, see if that works, and if not, need to look into it more. I should still look into it more if I want to learn, because this is bad, because I don't know why like return is not working when it should work in that case, because that means I have a incorrect idea of how the program works. So we run lead speak rescue and it's still not. So as I thought that was not the problem. So let's see what might be the problem. So we have an infinite loop. We enter an input. Right, so here we put input, here input string. So this is this is the input function as an object in an equality test with Q, the string. So guys, this is why dynamically typed languages can be a bit dangerous. This evaluates as if like nothing's wrong when we are doing like a really silly thing. We are evaluating equality between an object and a string. So now, I think finally everything works. So we have the same lead speak functionality. And now if we press Q, a function quits. So that's it guys for this lesson. It took me an embarrassingly long time to get this simple thing to work, but finally it did. Hopefully you can learn something from this and see you next time.